All right, so get this. You guys sent in a ton of articles about the history of Halloween food.
Hmm.
And honestly, I was blown away. Like, I had no idea. There was so much to it.
It is pretty amazing how much history is packed into something as simple as a Halloween treat.
Right. We're talking like ancient rituals and, spooky spirits and how trick-or-treating even got started.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, a lot of the articles you sent trace these traditions all the way back to this ancient Celtic festival.
Oh, yeah, Samhain, right.
Exactly.
That was like over 2,000 years ago, right?
That's right. It was celebrated in the regions that are now Ireland and the UK and northern France.
Got it. So it was basically their version of Halloween.
Sort of. It was
Yeah.
more than just a spooky celebration, though. It marked the end of summer and the start of the darker half of the year.
Okay, and
And the Celts believed that on this night, the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead would thin,
oh, spooky.
so spirits could pass through.
Okay, that definitely explains the whole Halloween vibe, but where does the food come in?
Well, imagine you believe that spirits are wandering around, right?
Yeah.
You probably want to make sure they were happy.
Yeah, keep them on your good side.
Exactly.
Mm.
So the Celts would leave offerings of food and drinks.
Like a peace offering.
Exactly. A way to ensure a smooth transition into those darker months.
That makes a lot of sense. And some of the key offerings mentioned in these articles were apples and hazelnuts.
Yes, apples were a big deal. They were a classic fall fruit, of course,
Right.
but they were also seen as symbols of immortality and wisdom to the Celts.
Oh, interesting.
They even believed apples had magical properties.
Really? Like what?
Well, think about those bobbing for apples games we still play today.
Oh, yeah.
Those actually originated from Celtic fortune-telling rituals that used apples.
Whoa. I always thought that was just a fun party game.
No, deep historical roots.
So cool. Okay, what about the hazelnuts? What was their deal?
Hazelnuts were linked with wisdom and protection. They were also often used in divination rituals.
So like fortune telling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adding this whole layer of mystery to the Samhain celebrations.
So even today, apples and nuts are still popular fall treats, and we still love a good fortune-telling game on Halloween.
Right.
It's amazing how these ancient beliefs still stick with us even after thousands of years.
It really shows how powerful these traditions are. But the story of Halloween food doesn't end there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. As Christianity spread, the celebration of Samhain started evolving and something called soul cakes came onto the scene.
Soul cakes. What are those?
They were these small spiced cakes, often made with things like nutmeg and cinnamon.
That's tasty.
They're baked as part of a Christian practice called souling.
Souling. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
So instead of just leaving offerings, people would go door to door on All Hallows Eve singing prayers for the souls of the dead.
Oh, wow. So is that where we get trick-or-treating from?
It's definitely a precursor.
That's so cool.
I know, right? I mean, the treats have obviously changed from simple soul cakes to all the candy we have today. But that basic idea of going door to door and getting something delicious has stayed the same.
That is wild. It's like we can trace a direct line from those ancient rituals to the Halloween traditions we know and love today.
It is pretty amazing. And speaking of iconic Halloween traditions, we can't forget about jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh, yeah, those glowing pumpkins.
Right. But you might be surprised to hear they weren't always carved from pumpkins.
Wait, really? I always thought pumpkins were like the jack-o'-lantern material.
Well, your sources reveal that the tradition actually started in Ireland,
Okay.
and they used turnips.
Turnips.
Yep. And there's this great folk tale about a character named Stingy Jack that explains how it all began.
Okay, I love a good story, so tell me about the Stingy Jack.
All right, so legend has it that Stingy Jack was this mischievous guy who tricked the devil not once but twice.
Ooh, he was playing with fire.
He was.
Hmm.
But his trickery ended backfiring on him. When he died, Jack was denied entry into both heaven and hell. Yeah, so he was condemned to roam the earth for eternity, with only a hollowed-out turnip lit by an ember to guide his way.
That's kind of sad.
It is a bit. So that's how the whole carved turnip tradition started.
Okay, but how did we get from turnips to pumpkins then?
Well, when Irish immigrants came to America, they quickly realized that pumpkins, which are native to North America, were way bigger and easier to carve.
So it was a practical thing.
Exactly.
Who knew that just the availability of pumpkins could shape a tradition that's lasted for centuries?
I know, right? It's fascinating how those little details can have such a big impact.
And of course, pumpkins have become a staple in Halloween food, too. I mean, who doesn't love a slice of warm pumpkin pie in October?
You can't beat it.
Right. Pumpkin pie, roasted pumpkin seeds, pumpkin spice lattes. We've really embraced the pumpkin in every way possible. But let's be real, as delicious as pumpkin is, the real star of modern Halloween is candy.
Oh, absolutely. Candy is king.
But it seems like this candy-filled Halloween that we know and love is actually a pretty recent thing.
You're right. According to your research, it wasn't always this way.
Really? I always assumed kids have been trick-or-treating for candy forever.
Trick-or-treating itself didn't become super popular until the early 1900s,
Oh, wow.
and candy didn't really take over as the main treat until the 1950s.
Wow, that's surprising. What were kids getting before candy took over?
Think homemade treats like caramel apples, popcorn balls, and even coins.
Coins, like pennies.
Yep. Imagine getting a handful of pennies instead of a giant chocolate bar.
That is a far cry from the Halloween hauls we see today.
I know, right? Times have definitely changed. But so why the shift to candy? Was it just because kids have a sweet tooth?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love candy?
Well, after World War II, there was a big boom in candy manufacturing.
Okay.
And candy companies were really smart about marketing their products for Halloween.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it also goes deeper than that. Post-war America was all about consumerism and convenience. Pre-packaged, mass-produced treats fit right into that mindset.
So Halloween reflects those bigger changes in society too, huh?
Exactly. It's not just about spooky fun. It's a window into how our culture has evolved.
That's really interesting. So Halloween food has basically come full circle from ancient rituals to modern mass production.
It really has. And as we move into the modern era, Halloween food just keeps evolving in more and more fascinating ways. But I think we'll save that part of the story for part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good. I can't wait to hear more. Okay, so we've gone from like ancient Celtic offerings to the rise of trick-or-treating. But I feel like the story of Halloween food doesn't end there, right? What about all the modern twists and like the creative stuff we see today?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's this really cool blend of like old traditions and new trends.
And when I think modern Halloween treats, I immediately think pumpkin spice everything.
Right.
Is that a new thing or have we always been obsessed with pumpkin spice?
Well, pumpkin itself has been a Halloween thing for centuries, obviously.
Right.
But the pumpkin spice craze we see today is definitely more recent.
It's everywhere. Lattes, candles, air fresheners, you name it.
It's true. I think it speaks to our desire to like bring those warm fall flavors into everything we do.
Yeah, and that definitely includes Halloween.
For sure. But even with all these new trends, some classics just never go out of style, right?
Totally. What would Halloween even be without caramel apples?
Caramel apples, such a classic combination of sweet and tart.
And then you've got those crunchy roasted pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
Talk about a delicious and sustainable way to use the whole pumpkin.
Resourceful and tasty.
Yeah.
The best of both worlds.
But beyond those classics, Halloween food has gotten way more elaborate and visually impressive too.
Definitely.
Some of the articles you sent mention these super intricate themed treats for Halloween parties.
Oh, yeah.
It's like food has become part of the whole visual spectacle of Halloween.
Absolutely. It's become this culinary playground where people can get really creative.
I've seen pictures of some of those Halloween cakes, and they're insane. You almost wouldn't even want to eat them. They're like works of art.
I know what you mean. It's amazing what people can do with food. It's a real testament to the skill and artistry of bakers and chefs who turn regular ingredients into these incredible edible creations.
So we've come a long way from simple apples and nuts to these super elaborate, almost theatrical Halloween treats.
We have. It's really cool to see how food traditions have basically mirrored the evolution of Halloween itself.
Yeah, Halloween has gone from a night of ancient rituals and spiritual beliefs to this modern celebration of creativity, community, and of course a little bit of spooky fun.
And food has been a key part of that journey every step of the way.
And looking ahead, it makes you wonder, what's next tea for Halloween food? What crazy stuff will future generations come up with?
That's the big question, isn't it? What trends are going to shape the Halloween treats of tomorrow? Will we see more plant-based Halloween candy as people get more health conscious?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd be down for some vegan candy corn.
Or maybe we'll see technology play a bigger role. What about like 3D printed edible decorations?
A 3D printed chocolate skull, now that would be awesome.
Right. The possibilities are pretty much endless. As we learn more about food science and technology, who knows what kind of culinary magic we'll be able to create for Halloween?
All this talk about Halloween treats has me craving some both classic A&D futuristic.
I feel ya.
But before we get too carried away with visions of 3D printed chocolate, maybe we should bring this deep dive back down to earth for a sec.
Yeah, you're right. It's fun to think about the future, But it's important to appreciate the present and remember all the history behind the Halloween treats we enjoy today.
Exactly. So next time you bite into a caramel apple or carve a pumpkin, think about all the centuries of tradition that led to that moment. It makes those spooky treats even more meaningful.
And hey, if you're feeling adventurous, maybe try making some soul cakes this year. It's a fun way to connect with the past.
I love that idea. It's like a culinary time capsule. It's crazy when you really think about it. Halloween food is kind of like a time capsule. It's
Yeah.
got these echoes of, ancient beliefs and traces of how customs have changed. And then like a sprinkle of modern magic all mixed together.
That's a great way to put it. It's so cool how these traditions have adapted and changed over time.
Right. Who knows what Halloween treats will be like in the future?
Yeah, like what if we have holographic candy that changes flavor depending on how you look at it?
Oh,
Or personalized candy bars 3D printed from like your DNA or something.
okay. Now I think we're getting a little carried away.
Maybe just a tad. But,
Hey.
okay, it's fun to think about.
It is. But for now, let's bring it back down to earth and appreciate the Halloween traditions we have right now.
Okay.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember about the history of Halloween food?
I think the most important thing is that every Halloween treat, no matter how simple or fancy, tells a story.
Yeah.
It's a story that goes back centuries and connects us to ancient rituals and cultural changes, and that basic human desire to celebrate, remember, and have some spooky fun.
I love that.
Yep.
So next time you're biting into a caramel apple or carving a pumpkin, take a second to appreciate the history behind it.
Yeah,
It really adds another dimension to those sweet and spooky treats.
it totally does. And, if you're feeling adventurous this year, you could try making some soul cakes.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a cool way to connect with the past.
A delicious blast from the past.
Exactly.
Well, folks, I think that just about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Halloween food.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has, from ancient harvest offerings to modern-day candy craziness.
Yeah, who knew there was so much to learn about Halloween treats?
Right. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
May your treats be plentiful and your scares be delightful. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.